Heyo, welcome everyone to Today in the Scene by Indie Arcade Wave. I'm Joe, your host, and here on In the Scene, we dive into what's happening in the arcade space, from new indie developers, arcade owners, and just news in the space in general. I've been in the space for about 5 years now. I helped create Galactic Battleground, and I've been taking it to trade shows and events all over the country ever since. Now, this week, we're going to dive into an arcade in Texas. I believe this is the first arcade that I've spoken to in Texas, and I'm pretty excited about that. We are planning a 2 week trip down there, and this is going to be one of the places that we're going to. So, we're going to be out there late January with the Galactic Battleground cabinet, stopping at round two in Dallas. That's just one of our, I believe we have 11 or 12 stops. And I've got the chance to speak with the owner, Kendall, today. He's going to talk about the classic cabinets they have, the retro consoles, the modern systems, the aesthetic they've set up in the arcade, and just what it's been like owning round two arcade. So, how you doing, Kendall?
Hey, thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I'm pretty excited. I was going through the Instagram the other day, looking at the pictures. It looks pretty sweet. I love all the aesthetic you've built around like the individual consoles. It's like every area has its own lounging couch space. It's really unique. I haven't seen a lot of those. But let's jump into like who you are. Who is Kendall? What do you do?
Sure. Well, as of recently, this is what I do. We've got an indoor mini golf and bar place called Another Round that opened about 3.5 years ago. And that's kind of where things started. We opened that up. It was kind of the first concept of its kind. There was only one or two other kind of funky mini golf places like ours. I like to describe it more like a art installation than your typical mini golf. It's not pirate mini golf. It's not jungle mini golf. It's no themes. It's just a super fun, quirky design, and really focused around making it an immersive, interactive experience. There's no mechanics on our course. We don't want things that are going to break or robotized. We want all things that require you and your friends to interact with each other to make them go around. One of the holes, for instance, has these floating cubes that are in these nets, and you're supposed to push them into each other. So you can make the hole as hard or as easy as you want to with your group. And we just think it makes for a better experience, and it also makes the gameplay different every time. And so we really kind of leaned into that, all kind of built by local folks. We support local brands, beer, liquor. We have a little pro shop that's got local apparel brands, golf apparel brands, Forefathers, Bogey Bros. And so we're just kind of proud to support local small businesses because that's what we are. And then we got the opportunity this summer to take over a place just down the street from Another Round called Flashback and turn it into round two. And so that's where we got into the arcade side of the business. It was already established as an arcade and bar, but we kind of added a little bit of a twist. It was themed more around the 80s, and we kind of turned it into gaming for all generations. So it's got consoles from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, 64 to the 50 plus retro arcades, all the way back from Space Invaders, Galaga up to we just got Killer Queen. And then we also added in these gaming bays that have a Mario gaming bay, a Bowser, and then a Ninja Turtle, either with a Switch or an Xbox. So whatever kind of video games you're into, we've got them. There's also board games and card games. So, it's just a fun place to hang out, have a drink, watch a game, and have some friendly competition with friends.
I think that's a really cool concept. The only other like bar, arcade, mini golf spot that I'm thinking of is Can Wonderland here in St. Paul, where we have our first Galactic Battleground. And that's really cool to me because it's all local Minneapolis artists. There's 18 holes. Every hole was designed by a different person. So it has a really cool flair over, what your standard mini golf course would be like. Like
Yeah,
obviously you mentioned like the Pirates, like Pirates Cove is huge here, like in Brainerd, Minnesota. There's like a massive place with like 10 courses, but every hole feels the same.
yeah,
There's nothing you can really interact with.
right.
And that's unique.
When we were getting started, when I mentioned there was like one or only two other places in the country, Can was one of them. So we went up to Can, loved it.
Such a cool spot.
Yeah, such a great spot. We learned some things, that we wanted to do a little differently than Can has. It's its own amazing space. But it was great to see kind of what they were doing. And we were excited to kind of bring something with our own flavor to Texas.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned like you already have an indie game. Do you have Killer Queen in there right now, or it's coming?
Yeah, actually,
It's in there
yesterday it landed
yesterday.
in our site, so I was super pumped to get it. I've got 3 kids, and they were thrilled to go and check it out because it's a great game.
Yeah, I know you guys have a really big scene down there. I know Dallas is pretty big. I think Austin has a fairly big scene too. So you guys already have a bunch of players down there. I know some of the best players like are down in Texas. And I guess that leads me to other indie games like us, like Galactic Battleground. I emailed you and you said it seems like a really cool concept and you want a demo. What was it about the game that made you interested in doing a demo?
Uh, I'd say first and foremost, it comes down to wanting to support all kind of small businesses, entrepreneurs, because it was a huge leap of faith for us to open up the arcade and bar 3.5 years ago. Unfortunately, the timing was right at the start of the pandemic, so that really threw a wrench in our plans for getting off the ground. Silver lining, this much time later, we were able to learn a lot from it, get stronger from it. But going through something like that, and I imagine even if there wasn't a pandemic, the growing pains of any small business, anybody trying to do something different and new is incredibly difficult. So when you reached out and said it was a game that you guys had created, trying to test out, saw some of the videos of people really getting around it, kind of gave me those early Killer Queen vibes. Excited to check it out, have it at our space, bring in others, and get a good taste for it. I love video games. I was born in the 80s, and I remember my parents got the original Nintendo as really something I think it was supposed to be for me, but I remember they played it more than I did. But I grew up with that, and then all the other video games from there, and so just I'm super excited to try it out.
Yeah, I'm excited to come down there. I've never been to Texas, so it's gonna be my first time visiting. Big Cowboys fan, so Dallas is
Yeah,
gonna be
there
a
you
good spot to be. Um, I'm really interested in the aesthetic of the arcade. Obviously, like so many arcades that I've been to around the country are so jam packed and tight, and there's like no space to move around. Seems like you guys have a couple like pretty good islands of classic games, and then you have these lounging spaces for each individual console. I thought it was really cool, the aesthetic, like all the design and stuff that went into each individual space. Was that something you guys did in house, or did you bring a designer in to do that stuff?
Yeah, we partnered with a group that helped us with some of the design at another round. So we had the idea for what we wanted to do, but we with everything we do, we want to partner with experts to make sure we do it right because we're not, and we don't pretend to be experts in anything. We weren't experts in mini golf. We weren't experts in bar programs, but we partnered with the right people, local folks that could help us and brainstorm with us and help us put these things together. And we've got 3 gaming lounge areas that are set up perfect for groups to come out. I mean, it's interesting to see how they kind of transform use during the day because on a Saturday afternoon it'll be maybe a couple kids or a family with a birthday party playing, and they're like mini living rooms. So they're playing Smash Brothers, or they're on the Xbox playing FIFA. And then at night it's a group of 20 somethings playing Mario Party together in the lounge. And again, it's just kind of neat to see not just the lounge use, but even as I've gotten to kind of really interact more as an arcade owner, and see how people engage with the games, just how different generations interact with different games, and what everyone's got something they appeal to. I'd say the only downside I've kind of seen of having an arcade is as somebody who wants to be a people pleaser, which is hard to do. But everybody always wants something else. There's so many arcade games, all different types. You wish you could have them all, but to your point, if you try to go too crazy with it, then it becomes a crowded space and kind of takes away a little bit of the engagement that you get with your group of friends or your significant other or whomever.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I went to Galloping Ghost with my wife. Absolutely loved it. Super, super fun. Some of the rarest games you're ever going to find on the planet, but it was so packed. There wasn't a lot of room to move around. There wasn't a lot of room for people to hang out. Like you can play the games and have a good time, but there wasn't a lounge area. And having a lounge area in an arcade is really cool, especially if you got a bar as well, like being
Yeah.
able to relax and chill. So I'm curious about the first business you started, right? So we're talking about the mini golf bar. Where did that concept come from, and how did you go from like I have this idea to actually opening your doors and starting the business?
Yeah, so the business has been open for 3.5 years, but the journey for it started, probably at least 2 years in advance. uh, my wife and I would go on vacations, and we'd bring our kids, and we'd go to, say, like the beach in Florida for a few days, and we'd come back and say, "Hey, what was your favorite part of the trip?" And it was the 1 hour that we went and played mini golf over the 2 or 3 days at the beach. And it's like, all right. I mean, it was a blast. And so we come back to Dallas, and the weather here is pretty temperamental these days, where or pretty extreme these days, where um, we'll have months of 100 degrees, and then we'll have 2 or 3 months of 30 degrees. And there's just not that many mini golf places that can kind of sustain that year over year. So we're pretty limited in offerings. So we were disappointed. We're like, there's an opportunity to bring some more mini golf to town. We thought if we were going to do it, we didn't want to do like I said, the themed mini golf. It's kind of been done. Thought, there's an opportunity to do something different, to kind of take, the game, and I wouldn't say necessarily modernize it like some people are doing now. They got like digital scoring and things, but just to kind of take a new spin on it. And then, like I said, with the weather, we're like, well, we got to do it indoors. So, we can play year round. And if we're going to do it inside, love to have a drink with it. We found an amazing space right outside of downtown Dallas. It's got a big patio on the back. So even when the weather's great, we got patio games and tables, pickleball court out there now. But I guess back to the story. So that's where we kind of got the idea, what we wanted to do. And then to create a unique concept, it took a year and a half to get through the city with permits and, well, what do we classify this as? And does it really fit this type of zoning? And, all those kind of weird challenges. And then with as you would see, the unique design of it, even more head scratching from the contractors for how to pull it off, what materials to use. And I would say is probably the most interesting piece of building out a mini golf course is we really minimize the use of AstroTurf. That was intentional because we wanted to be different. But depending on what materials you use, the hardiness, the friction, the amount of kind of bounce that the ball's going to get, and the transition from surfaces, there's a lot that goes into it. On one of our holes, our most popular hole, I think the cone hole, we probably spent 2 days just tinkering with how a ball would come out of the tube to make sure that every time it would be a hole in one. And that's just kind of the quirkiness of building out a mini golf course, and really trying to make sure that, you're being true to the game, even if you're doing it a little differently.
Yeah, it's just constant tinkering, little adjustments, little changes here and there. And I mean, it's at a standpoint where like the ball is the whole game. So you don't want to ruin the way that the ball moves, and you don't want to make it do something unexpected, right?
Yeah. And, the tinkering thing, that's another part that I've kind of quickly kind of really enjoy learning on the arcade side is these machines are, 30, 40 years old now
Right.
plus. And, they've got their own quirks with screen issues and button issues. And, getting to learn that some of the intricacies with those, and, twist this a little bit, rock this, hit this button and this button at the same time inside of it to reset it or put it on free play. It's all, its own kind of interesting challenge, but it's something you just really come to appreciate.
And every game's its own beast. They're all a
Oh,
little different depending on
yeah.
who developed them, who made them, and all that stuff. And that's one benefit of the indie games is, it's all modern hardware. Obviously, we're trying to stay true
Mhm.
to the classics. We want to have the retro vibe, that energy. We've had people mention that they remember playing it as kids when they played Galactic Battleground. It's only been out for, 5 years, and they're in their 40s, so they couldn't have done that. But it's a benefit of the fact is like we've had one cabinet in Fort Lauderdale for about 4 years now, and all we've had to do is replace a joystick. That's the
Nice.
the only thing that's gone wrong in 4 years. So,
Knock on
you're
wood.
getting new hardware, which doesn't break down as much. Benefit, but also you're
Right.
losing the retro stuff. So you found this arcade down the street from you. You already have an idea of like how to run a business, how to get people in there. Why did you feel like going with video games and arcade and that era was the next move in your business journey?
Yeah. So, great question, because that's what really got me kind of excited about wanting to uh, kind of put our own twist on it, which is I went with our kids, and as we were kind of getting interested in taking this over, we went to several arcades in town just to kind of, get the vibe, kind of see how people are interacting. And I really noticed that with my kids and other kids in general, they don't have, there's obviously some exceptions, but generally they don't have the excitement around the retro arcades. Folks that are adults like we do that kind of grew up going to arcades, and even generations beyond us, were the initial ones going to arcades. And, I thought, well, hey, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Because then there was a place that we went up to in North Dallas, up in Plano, that was only new games. So it was PlayStation's, Xbox, Switch, and PC gaming, which I love, and I thought it was a great concept, but it didn't have any of the retro stuff. So it was like, you could go to one or the other. You can go to some of the places like Dave and Buster's and Main Event, which is bigger down here in the South. I'm not sure how nationwide they are, but they've got games that are arcade games that have newer twists, but it's not the handhelds that a lot of kids grow up with today. And if anything, they're just trying to relate more to apps that people play on their tablets or smartphones. And so we just thought, hey, there's a unique opportunity. Just bring the spectrum, like have the array of games, let people play them together, experience them together. One of the coolest things I've seen is when a family comes in and the mom or the dad sit down in front of the original Nintendo, and it's like hopping on a bike, and they just breeze through level 1-1, and the kids are like, whoa, how'd you do that? Where'd you learn this from? And they're like, you don't know. You don't know where this came from. And then see that family get engaged, and they really enjoy that together. That's something that we're just trying to kind of lean into and make the whole space about, is enjoying video games no matter what they are, appreciating the different types, and just giving all that exposure.
Yeah, I think that's awesome having that blend. Like you saw, just like with the mini golf, you saw something that was missing and you were like, we can bring this here. Let's just put it right next to the mini golf and buy this arcade and turn it into what we think it should be for the space. And you brought up the fact of like just trying to make phone games in the arcade now. Like Dave and Buster's literally has Flappy Bird and Temple Run. Like
Yeah.
those games are in giant cabinets. So they genuinely are just taking phone games and putting them in arcade cabinets, and they're, it's the same thing. It's not as fun, I guess. I don't like them on the phone personally, but teach their own.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's really cool what you guys have done, and clearly you have a pretty good stance on like how to run these businesses, how to make them grow. So, what advice would you give for someone that's looking to open up an arcade, maybe even in a similar situation to you, where they kind of buy an arcade that's not doing great?
Yeah. It's tricky. There's no straight formula for success. I don't think, it all takes kind of knowing your market, knowing what kind of people in your area are looking for. That was one of the reasons we also were interested in this, because we wanted to take it again in a different direction that it was previously going, because we thought, and fortunately for us, it was in our neighborhood, in the area right next to, just down the street from our mini golf place. And we thought, it's not resonating as well as it should, because it's not connecting as well as it should with the neighborhood, the area it's in. And so that's what we thought was the opportunity. So, I really would focus on making sure you're really thoughtful and intentional about kind of the real estate aspect. Where is it going to be? And then based off of where it's going to be, who are you targeting? Because, and even between our two concepts that are right down the street from the other, literally a mile apart, mini golf and an arcade, but we have very different customers we've already seen in 4 months. And so we adjusted our menu, because when we came into round 2, we adjusted our menu to be more like the menu that we have at the mini golf place another round. But then we saw in 30, not even 60 days, that that's actually not what the customers there want. They want more local classic drinks, not craft drinks, not these maybe a little more offbeat signature cocktails. They want staples done right, and so we're reverting the menu to staples, because that's what the people want. That's what they're looking for. So just you have to understand the area and who your customer is going to be. And then the other thing is, I think the other important part is know your calling card. Meaning, why do people want to come here, and how do we engage appropriately with programming that gets people excited to come there? The first and third Thursday of every month, we have gaming tournaments. So whether it's Smash Brothers. We just did the new Mortal Kombat. Rotate the games. Smash Brothers is the most popular, but that we do. But and then we'll start to do Killer Queen. But being able to interact with customers that way, to give them the opportunity to kind of get to know each other. For some folks, they come in and they play elsewhere, and so it's just a new spot to come in and compete. That's fun. We're going to start in January. We're waiting for the holidays to wrap. Kids esports tournaments on Sundays in the afternoon. And then we, next in 3 days, it's a new game of the month for us. So like for December, it's going to be Space Invaders. And we're going to put a scoreboard, and whoever has the top score for the month of December is going to get a free 2-bay rental party for 20 at the end of the month for that high score. So, again, just, thinking about what are you going to be able to do outside of just say like, here's an arcade, we build it. We hope you come versus giving them a reason to be excited to come, check it out, do something a little different than kind of what else is any other offerings. I think that's kind of two critical pieces to look at if you're going to start something in this space.
I think that's great advice. I mean, there's so many arcades, especially arcades bars, opening constantly around the U.S. So you need to find a way to differentiate yourself from the others and stand out and make people want to come to your location specifically. You want them to see you as their home arcade. They can always visit other arcades, but you're their home arcade.
Yeah.
And I think you guys did a great job of finding a place to do that.
Thanks. And one other piece I do want to add in there is don't stick to what you want. Don't get, fooled by something like, I would like to have this. This is the type of games I like to play versus what is your customer,
Exactly.
what are the games your customers want to play? What are they asking for? That's what you gear towards. Because, we first thought, when we opened it, everyone's like, oh, are you going to get skee ball? Are you going to get Pop-A-Shot? Are you going to get Killer Queen? And, I was like, hey, those are, pretty space intensive games, and we don't have that massive of a space. We've only got 4,000 square feet.
Right.
I was like, so I'd really eat into it. But as we started to kind of, again, think about, what are we going after? We're going after that interactive arcade experience, meaning people to people. Even though you're in front of a machine, we're still wanting to engage people with people. Not just the individual me and the versus the arcade. Right. And Killer Queen embodies the multiple person engagement that we really want to lean in towards. Like we have the console areas in the living room. And so, we thought we got to pull the trigger on Killer Queen when we have the opportunity. So yeah, now we've got it, and we're excited to have, again, another kind of interactive game for people to enjoy together.
Right. I mean, people go to arcades to gather with other people. I mean, you don't usually go to an arcade to be solitary and be away from people. If you wanted to do that, you'd stay home on your PC or your console. That's what you do. That's all I had for you, Kendall. So I guess just shout out social media so that people can follow along with your businesses.
Sure. Appreciate it. It's at round.2.dallas across social spectrums, TikTok, Instagram. And then for the mini golf place, it's another.round.dallas. You can check out, kind of see some of the funkiness and the quirkiness. That's what we try to highlight in our feed. So, check us out. And, as you mentioned for advice, if anybody wants to reach out, I'm happy to engage with anybody. I love talking to other entrepreneurs or people interested. So, don't be shy.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Kendall. I appreciate it. I'm going to throw all those links down in the description so people can check out both of the arcade and the mini golf. But yes, like I said, thank you. If you're still watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us a ton. The wave will continue to grow, and we will all ride it together. We have the new shirts for Galactic Battleground and Indie Arcade Wave on our website, as well as our 4-player Konami and 4-player tabletop Galactic Battleground cabinets there too. But until next time, peace.
Thanks, Jeff.